Alrighty, welcome back to Lesson Notes, and today we are diving into fat contact. So if you are someone who struggles with hitting a lot of ground, hitting it fat, hitting the ground early, I think this video will be very, very helpful for you because you are likely doing what this video is about. This video on the left is our before swing. The video on the right is a drill, and then we'll finish up the video with an example of me doing the swing that I'm trying to talk this player through, and then what his swing looked like after doing all of the form changes and the drills. So this player just played in a competitive tournament, struggled with some fat contact, and these videos are all with a pitching wedge because that's really what he was struggling with. So let's start with this video on the left. I don't want to dive into anything in the setup. Nothing is really correlated. But what we're going to see is that everything to the top of the backswing is basically fine. Nothing here is suggesting that he would hit it fat. And in fact, if we go to lead arm parallel, you would not think that he would hit this fat. He's got a very narrow arc on the downswing. You can see between the shaft and his trail shoulder is pretty darn close. Like a lot of times when someone hits it fat, they're really, really wide. In previous videos, I've talked about the shaft would be kind of there. So if you were to take a picture of this, you'd be like, man, I think he's probably gonna thin it. He's very, very steep in general with his angle of attack. So why is he hitting it fat? Well, what we're going to see is on the downswing, I'm going to play this out slowly, is there is this counter movement where his head moves down and to the right. And so like I've talked about in short game videos, wherever your nose is, so we can kind of picture his nose would be like right here. In general, he is going to hit the ground there. Now, the reason that he doesn't hit it fat a lot is he has a lot of lag, like I just talked about. He's very narrow. This is nice position. But the head moving to the right is definitely a reason to hit the ball fat. So back to what I said earlier, if you're someone who hits it fat, this is the number one thing I would be looking at is your face-on perspective and how your head is moving or your body is moving relative to target. Now, this move where the head kind of moves down and to the right is one of the hardest things from a coaching perspective to fix on a player. So what I found is there are certain drills that are really, really helpful. This would be one of them. I've posted a ton of YouTube shorts and other videos about how to solve this, but this would just be one. And this is the step drill, to where a player is going to set up with their feet close together, and then on the backswing, they're going to be stepping towards the target. So let me just walk you through this. When you're setting up for this, you're going to take your normal stance, and then right before you hit, you're just going to move your feet close together like this. So let's just play this video out and kind of look at what his head is doing. And so initially, you can see that there is that movement towards the target, which is really what I'm trying to get him to feel. You can argue that he probably has not felt this movement before, where he feels his mass, both his lower body and his upper mass, shifting towards the target together. And you can see there's no back out of the head. And as he finishes, he's very, very tall and extended versus the video on the left where he's still in that kind of right side bend posture. So let's look at how this drill is executed. So once your lead arm gets to parallel to the ground, that's when you're going to start stepping. And you're doing a pretty big step. You can see he has gone past his normal stance. And I'd say the other thing that he's focusing on is really finishing on his left side. You can see he's like trying to reach towards the target there. So if you've never done this drill, I would highly encourage it. Anytime that I do this drill, they almost always solve the fat contact. And of course, he actually started to thin some of these because with as much shaft lean as he has with the shifting left, you're probably going to hit some thin because you're hitting the ground so much later. Another thing that we did talk about was the difference in the backswing being the width. So you can see here, there's a lot of narrowness there, and you can see here it's much, much wider. I think some of the trail side movement in the previous video is because he's so narrow. Whenever someone maintains that position, a lot of times they will fall to the right. So if that's someone like you, you may want to work on trying to feel a little bit wider as you're doing this with your swing. Wide would just mean from his sternum to here, his arms are much more stretched. So let's take a look now at my swing and then what his after swing looked like. Alrighty, so let's start with the video on the left. This would be at the end of our session after doing all of our form work and doing the drills. And what you'll notice right off the bat is that I am holding a stick by his right ear, And so that would be an external focus where I am saying I want you to miss this stick while he's still thinking of all of those things. I think that's a good takeaway from this video, is that if you are trying to make some changes to your swing, you really need to be thinking about something and also having an external piece that kind of forces the movement. You've seen me draw lines on the ground or use head covers or use golf balls, golf bags. Anything in the way generally is going to help you move the needle more on the form change you're trying to make. So let's take a look and see what the difference is. And also, you should be seeing a difference visually if you are trying to make form change. So here we go. You can see on the backswing, he is shifting a little bit more to the trail side, and then the arm swing is a little bit shorter and it's a little bit wider, which are all things that I was trying to get him to do. And then on the downswing, I'll play this out slowly. You can see his head is much more centered. At that last video at lead arm parallel, his head was starting to drift to the trail side, and here you can see it's really not moving a ton to the right. It did move a little bit, but it wasn't that much. And then he's definitely finishing a lot more left. Would I like to see him keep his head more centered? Yes, and I'm sure he will achieve that the more he thinks about this. But this is a big, big difference. It's 3 to 4 inches different. And we know that this solution worked because he stopped hitting them fat. So that's the key too. Like if you're going to try something, you should see the contact issue go away. All right, so let's go ahead and shift over to my swing. And this really is just an exaggerated swing where I wanted just to talk about this idea of moving right to move left. Again, this is for a right-handed player. So you can see I am actually shifting to the trail side, as I find it helpful sometimes to feel exaggerated movements to where now that I've shifted right, I actually have a lot more freedom to move left. And so what you're going to see is that I've moved right, which I'm not saying that if you hit it fat, moving to the right is helpful. I'm saying if you're trying to feel the movement left, sometimes moving to your trail side helps you exaggerate that feeling. So now you're going to see my head shift quite a bit towards the target. And that really is helpful. Again, if I was moving left early in the backswing, you would most likely move the opposite way. And so the other thing I'm really focusing on in this position is I'm really trying to feel stacked over my left foot. And you can see that in this follow through here where he is very, very tall and very, very towards the target. So in summary, if you're someone who's hitting it fat, I would highly recommend doing those drills. Identify if you're moving away from the target, because that is likely the reason that you're hitting it fat. And then you need to be looking at this face-on perspective. As long as your head is staying in that green box, you're going to be fine. And it is totally fine to be shifting this way, outside the green box. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. I would love for you to drop a comment and let me know if it was helpful. And best of luck next time you head to the range.